Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America Trading Corporation, and you are tuned into our podcast, The Secret War on Cash. I have with me my co-host, Chris Agelastos. Chris, I know that we've talked quite a bit about BRICS in the course of the last couple of years, and one of the things that we seem to mention every time we do is that they just keep building more and more and more momentum. It just doesn't seem to stop.
Yep.
And it's interesting because, BRICS has been around for quite a while, but it's just these last few years, everything that's been taking place in the global marketplace and the global economy has kind of, in a way, necessitated or warranted, BRICS becoming more and more active. And, it's something that the current administration, President Trump, has addressed and tried to hit head on, but yet it just seems like that momentum is so great that there's really nothing that can be done to stop it. And so
Mhm.
looking at this, we've heard a lot about this. BRICS is creating a new global currency in 2026, and now there is a question mark there, and it's saying what you need to know. It seemed like it was pretty much a given that in 2026 they would have a currency. Everything that they were saying was suggesting that, and it's not, and that still may happen. I don't understand exactly why they softened on this, other than maybe they're looking to have the element of surprise. But as I mentioned just a moment ago, how BRICS continues to gain momentum. You have, I don't know what the total number of current actual BRICS participants are. The original five was Brazil,
Yeah.
Russia, India, China, and South Africa. That's where BRICS comes from.
Mhm.
But now I know there's at least 11 or 12 that are
Yeah, I think
officially in.
maybe even 13 or 14 and others in line.
Well, that's the big thing. It talks about that in this article here. 47 countries are in line.
Mhm.
And that's a big and a very frightening number. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of the reason there is so much talk about this currency coming as soon as 2026 is that at the last summit, Putin held up a mock-up. I think it was at the summit. He held up a mock-up of a $200 bill of some kind that was going to be the BRICS currency.
Mhm.
And then at the Kazan summit, they introduced a BRICS card. So here's the thing. I don't know it's in all reality or honesty, I don't know what's holding them up from doing it, because it just seems, I think the only thing that really would make sense is, and this has been, what would you say, kind of not criticism, but one of the things that people say may hold back or impede BRICS advancement is that they're not per se uniform, and which makes
Mhm.
sense because you have all these different countries that are involved, and
Sure.
to whatever end each of them has their own agenda. And then when you start talking about issuing a currency, how's it going to be backed, or that type of thing. So there is something to be said for that. But yet, here's the other side of that argument is that every article we look at, every time you turn your head, they are working to resolve these things. So
Yeah.
they are working towards progress. And that's where, what do you think? You think by 2026 we will be looking at a BRICS currency?
Uh, Hard to say. It certainly could happen. I think like using your example there of getting everybody to agree. I think it's kind of like when you're on a family trip. I know I've had plenty of these situations where you've got 10 or 15 family members and it's time to figure out dinner, and everybody has different ideas as to what they want that evening, and it can be a bit of a hassle to get an agreement, right? But we do all agree on one thing: we're hungry and we want dinner, and I think that's where BRICS here has a lot of common goals and things they want to accomplish, but they don't necessarily agree on all of the details at the same time. I also think that, quite honestly, President Trump being in office is something that has likely slowed them down a bit. Again, not to say that they're not going to continue to move forward, but maybe at a bit of a slower pace. So it wouldn't surprise me if 26 isn't the year, but they've already got so many of the tools in place that they're going to need. They know they all want
Right.
a common currency. They know they want to reduce dependence on the dollar. They're working on digital payment systems, blockchain settlement networks, local currency trade arrangements. These things are still happening. They hold massive reserves of gold for backing of their currency. So I do think that this is going to continue down this path. I'm hoping that whether it's because of President Trump or any other reason that they are slowing down, I hope we can maintain that slower pace. But I don't think that we're going to stop this train. Not to say it isn't possible, but I think it's highly unlikely at this point, with as much as they already have in place.
Right. Well, and I think you do bring up an excellent point that what President Trump probably has slowed down the trajectory or the progress that they were making, not not hindered it, not stopped it, but slowed it down because just taking the tariffs as an example,
Mhm.
even though there was these threats and then there were these counter threats and what have you, and all very valid, all part very normal. It's been around forever. It's been happening forever, but they had to work through that in order to get going again, and that just kind of is a little bit of a distraction
Yeah.
of sorts, let's call it. And
Well, and
you know,
President Biden didn't do anything, right? I mean, he was,
right.
as far as we know, in the public eye, we didn't see him really addressing or acknowledging or doing anything about BRICS. So Trump has definitely taken a more offensive stance and has been
Sure.
more aggressive.
Offensive is a good word because I think a few of them were offensive. Offended,
Probably is
excuse me.
accurate. Yeah.
Well,
Valid
so
point.
then let's get into the second article here. We look at and this is the thing with BRICS. I mean, the top BRICS countries with the highest gold reserves in 2025.
Mhm.
And why I wanted to kind of talk about this is because BRICS, right in the beginning of the article here, BRICS nations have accumulated, excuse me, over 6,000 tons of gold by this year, 2025. And it
Mhm.
represents 20 to 21% of what central banks hold globally right now. Now,
Mhm.
the numbers, not really altogether that surprising. You have Russia with 2,300 tons, China at 2,298. You have India, and I was actually a little surprised at this. I thought India had larger reserves than this, but 879 tons is not it's nothing to sneeze at. And then you have Brazil and South Africa, at both roughly 129 for Brazil and 125 for South Africa. So
Mhm.
they. But point is, at the end of the day, 6,000 tons of gold is a lot of gold. It's 6,000
Yep.
tons. It's a ton. And this speaks to what we were talking about a moment ago, where maybe this is where trying to get a proper currency valuation or to launch a currency might be a little challenging because they're trying to figure out how to value it and weight it out properly, if you will, like a weighted average of some kind, maybe. Um, but it's reason for concern because this isn't just like they are looking to, hey, we're just going to start a new currency to start a new currency and issue like another fiat money. They're making efforts to get real assets, get gold to back that currency up, to help um, create a financial backbone for their alliance. And if you get down towards the end of the article, it talks about how they're doing this to help reduce the dependency on the West, which is us basically.
Mhm.
So, at the end of the day, it's not just a pipe dream. It's not just like, well, we don't like this, we want something different. They're actually making, solid efforts and taking solid strides to put a better thing in place. And to me, that's concerning.
Yeah, and even if you want to take the pessimistic side of this argument and say they're not going to be able to agree, they're not going to be able to develop their own currency. Well, okay, let's say that's true. They control almost a quarter of the world's central bank's gold. So, and what gold represents is stability. It's a real asset that has had value, significant value for thousands of years. And so if they control almost a quarter of that supply, they are going to be able to have major impact and influence on the rest of the world, even if they didn't create their currency. But
Right.
again, with everything they're putting in place, like we talked about in the first article, this is a path they are going down, and I really don't see them stopping. Now, with Russia and China controlling the majority of the reserves, obviously they're going to have the biggest say in how things go. And how are our relations right now with Russia and China? Not very good.
Day
Certainly
to
not
day
where we would
at
hope. Yeah,
best.
yeah, it's tenuous, and they're certainly not where we would want them to be. So this is a serious issue that I think our government and our citizens need to take seriously. Again, whether they have their own currency or not, whether this happens in 2 months or in 2 years, this is still important, and it's going to have a major impact on our economy, whether we want to agree with it or like it or not.
Right. You're 100% correct. All right. Well, something that we'll continue to look at and talk about in the future. And I don't think that, that there hasn't been that I can think of, Chris, in what, 2.5 years now of this podcast, where we have had one even indication of things slowing down or pulling back as far as BRICS. It's
Right.
just, again, it's been a full steam ahead type scenario. So,
Mhm.
again, folks, The Secret War on Cash is this podcast. If you'd like to receive a free copy of the report, A Secret War, you can call us at 1-800-289-2646 or text us at that number as well. Please visit us online if you haven't done that either at www.swissamerica.com. You'll see that phone number and the website in the program description. If you're not subscribed, please do so, as we'd love to talk to you more in the future. Have a great day and a great rest of your week. We'll see you real soon.
Thank you.